This is Dalek Bob, the love child of a friend after a night on the beer followed by a session on eBay. Bob is quite old and made of wood. The idea is that you take him apart and inside there's a bench seat which you can sit on and push him around with your feet. It's very cramped inside, but of course I had to try it. The two halves come apart and you're bolted inside, and once you're in there it's actually both intimidating and quite difficult to get out.
It's actually quite intimidating, especially it's a bit.
Once you're inside there's a lot of shuffling of feet, and the movement is, to be honest with you, quite uninspiring. So our thoughts were, let's put some motors in there. We already had a pair of wheelchair motors, so I got some small truck wheels, and the first thing to do was to knock the old bearings out. We're going to replace these with a central hub which is going to fit over the drive shaft of the wheelchair motors. Once these have been turned down to size, I had to bore a central hole through there to fit over the drive shaft of the motors. Now these motors also have a keyway shaft on them, so I had to manually cut a shaft in these with a broaching bar and a hydraulic press. Then some manual intervention to fit these into the wheels and just welding them in place to keep them fixed. Then it was trying to grab one of the keys and see if it actually fitted into the slot. Goes there on the motor, and does the wheel go on? Yes, it does. It's just held on with a nut and a bolt, and then the tyre goes over the top. I'm going to make a couple of motor mounts out of 5mm plate steel, and of course I cut these on the plasma cutter. There's two pieces to each, they're mirrored, and there's going to be a weld down the middle to get them fixed together. A couple of magnetic clamps to get them lined up, and then another embarrassing session of my beginner TIG welding. With the motors in place, it looks a bit rickety, but I think it'll do. I need a circuit board for electronics, so as usual I CNC routed one. I'm going to be using an ESP32 S3 for this project because I had one lying around. I'm also using a DF Player Mini so we can play some Dalek samples back to terrify people. If you're interested in the technical details as to how all the wireless communication works, there's a bit of a write-up in the description below. And here it is all up and running with power from the 24V supply and a couple of H-bridges fitted for the motor control. We're going to control Bob with a webpage displaying a couple of tank controls, and these are going to go straight through to the ESP32. We've also got a soundboard we'll be able to simulate a conversation with people. The batteries hadn't arrived for the first test, so we just stuck a power supply in there with a trailing mains lead. It seemed to work. And the sample player controls work well too. Logically for us, a great place to test Bob was the Bridgewater Hall in Manchester, home of the Halle Orchestra. So then it was off to Spindle's Shopping Arcade in Oldham for a bit of fun.
Ha ha ha.